Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Kayla. I'm on the marketing team at Wasatch Crest. And today we have our marketing director, Matt Borget, talking about our admissions process and how we work with referrals and how we do our best to get clients to treatment that is the right fit for them. So before we start, I just want to let you know that you can ask questions at any time using your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll make sure that Matt gets your questions answered. And then we also have a collateral packet overviewing Wasatch Crest program in the handout section of this webinar. So you can download that and review it when this webinar is over to learn more about us. But I will let Matt kind of take it away.
Thank you, Kayla. Hi guys, good morning. I'm Matt Borget. I'm the marketing director at Wasatch Crest. Before we get started, we were going to have Sarah Tucker join us, but she's our admissions manager. It's looking like she's having some technical difficulties, so I know she's trying to join us. She might be joining up a little bit later, but I'm just going to get rolling on stuff right now. So to get started with how our admissions process works, and to give you a little background on me, I've worked in admissions and business development for a few years. And, oftentimes in admissions, I just get asked flat out early on in an admissions phone call, what's your admissions process? What needs to be done? And the way that I've simplified that is there's 3 boxes that need to be checked. Each person that's coming to treatment needs to be clinically, medically, and financially cleared to come to treatment. And I want to spend a little bit of time diving into each of those areas on what that looks like specifically for Wasatch Crest. To start with clinically, Wasatch Crest is dual diagnosis. We're primary substance use and treat co-occurring mental health. What that means is we are not a mental health only treatment center. Oftentimes our clients that are struggling with substance use disorder are dealing with co-occurring mental health, and they're self-medicating because of that mental health. And so if we ever encounter a client that is not struggling with substance use, a big part of what admissions does is work with other community partners that do have a mental health only track. We find that that milieu, mixing those milieus, it's can be beneficial for them to be with other people that are there for primary mental health. And oftentimes those programs have a little bit more training and understanding on how to work with those clients. And so a big part of what we do is not just getting people into Wasatch Crest, but making sure that we get people that are reaching out for treatment into the right level of care, into the right place. And that's not always us. One thing I wanted to touch on too with clinically, I've worked for programs before, or worked with other programs before that have exclusionary policies, which is, we don't do this, we don't do that, we don't take clients that self-harm, we don't deal with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder, we don't deal with eating disorders. So anytime that comes up during the admissions process, it's an automatic no. Our team has a very good understanding of what we're comfortable working with and what we're capable of treating, but we don't have a specific exclusionary policy that we go off of. Every time that we're working with a potential admit, we are having our admissions team do a screening, or if that client is in some type of facility, a psychiatric facility or a detox center, we're getting clinical information from those facilities and doing a screening and providing that information to our clinical team for them to make a decision if it's something that we feel like is a good fit. And, if we're the right place for that client. And so every person that's coming in, we're doing screenings and getting that for our clinical team to make a clinical decision on if it's appropriate. To dive into medically, making sure people are medically cleared, Wasatch Crest does a lot of recreational therapy, experiential therapy, a lot of hands-on and outdoors uh, type of therapy. And I know that sometimes can be a deterrent for people that are concerned about, their ability to hike or to be active. Um, and one thing that we do with these outings, we usually try to cater to people's abilities. If we have a few people, for example, if we're going on a hike and we have a few people that are concerned about their ability to hike, we usually split up our group. We might have one group that's going a little quicker, one group that's going a little bit slower. And with other activities, we just want people to show up and participate. So if people are concerned about their ability, their mobility, the biggest part is that we have our clients show up and participate, and we're very aware of trying to make things work for people. That being said, Wasatch Crest is a multi-level home. We have stairs in our facility, and so if we are working with someone who's inquiring about treatment that might have a disability or anything preventing them from going up and down stairs or participating in experiential therapy or recreational therapy, we keep an up-to-date list of ADA compliant facilities that we refer to, and these are people that we work with often and trust and know that they provide quality treatment. And so that's something that all of our admissions and business development team have. They have this list of ADA facilities, so we can make a appropriate referral. Some of the things that I've run into in the past, we've had clients that may need to get to physical therapy or might have some type of physical or medical ailment that needs some attention while they're in treatment. And the way that I always communicate that to people is as long as it doesn't interfere with treatment, we can usually be pretty accommodating. Sometimes people need to get these physical medical things taken care of before they're able to participate in a residential treatment program. I've encountered people before that are on dialysis and need to, have dialysis every single day. And, that really interferes with treatment. We've had a lot of clients in the past that need physical therapy, and if it's a once a week type of thing, it's definitely able to be accommodated while in treatment. I've also encountered people too where they have a hard time sitting, and where we are in groups, for I don't have an exact number, but there is a significant amount of time where we're in groups and you need to sit, and so that has been an issue in the past before. And so biggest thing on the medical side is making sure that people are able to participate in treatment and not have things interfere with that process. We'll jump to financially. This is probably the biggest one and can be pretty extensive at times. Just to run through real quick, Wasatch Crest is in network with Select Health, University of Utah Healthcare, Molina, TRICARE, First Health, MultiPlan, MWN, and EMI. And so we also take insurance that has out-of-network benefits. I would say the majority of people that are looking to come into treatment at Wasatch Crest have health insurance, which really helps offset the majority cost of treatment. Usually there is some out-of-pocket costs associated with that. And what we do early on in the admissions process is collect that insurance information and do a verification of benefits to assess what that out-of-pocket cost is. And so, as far as what our clients need to provide, to us during the admissions process, being available for that screening, being able to provide insurance information, and then we usually have the financial conversation and figure out a way to make that out-of-pocket cost work. There is some flexibility, some things that we can do. What we offer a really competitive private pay rate, and then there is some sliding scales on that too, depending on the length of stay. So the longer somebody's in treatment with us, or if they're planning to do our lower levels of care as well, we work with people to get them a really competitive pay rate for that. Oftentimes what happens too, we might encounter an insurance that doesn't have out-of-network benefits that we are not in network with. And this is somewhere where our business development team really helps us out. Our business development team is out in the community working with our community partners, and they are very knowledgeable about programs that are in network with various types of insurance and what kind of care that they offer. And so very often our admissions team is reaching out to them saying, hey, this is the scenario with this client, this is their insurance, this is the kind of treatment they're looking for, this is what they're struggling with, what do you think would be a good program? And so we often find that we're referring out in those instances where it's an insurance that we can't work with, or you know, if financially it's going to be a burden going out of network for our clients. Sometimes we find, yes, we can take the insurance, but it's going to cost 2-3 times as much going out of network. Let's get you to an in-network place so it's a little bit more financially feasible. That's pretty much everything I have for the clinically, medically, financially cleared. Last thing I'll say is that clinically and medically, we get approval from our medical team and our clinical team through that screening. We submit it to them, wait for approval. The financial piece, admissions is usually talking with me and gets approval there. Once we have approval in all three of those areas, that is usually when our admissions team is scheduling an intake, scheduling transport, and all of that. Kayla, do you want to move to the next slide for me, please? And I feel like I may have already touched on some of the stuff that is on these slides, so forgive me. I touched on this a little bit. Of course, being able to provide insurance information to us, being available to take phone calls from admissions and being responsive with them. Sometimes the admissions process takes hours. Sometimes it can be a couple of days, just depending. I know one thing that Sarah wanted me to touch on. Oh, and I'm just drawing a blank real quick. I had it a second ago. It'll come back. A big part too is, being able to pack and be ready. We need our clients to, we have a list online of what our clients need to bring to treatment. So being able to pack and get ready and show up on time with their scheduled admission time. Let's see, I can't think of anything else there. Do you want to jump to the next slide for me, Kayla? Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I touched on this a little. I feel like the admissions process is very much the same for each individual. The things that might make it a little bit different is if somebody is paying privately for treatment versus paying with their insurance. Usually the admissions process goes a little bit quicker when insurance isn't involved. It kind of takes away some of those steps. The other thing that might vary is depending on the type of insurance and if we're making a referral to another treatment center. The way that we do that is what we call a warm handoff. I will talk with the client, Sarah will talk with the client, and let them know about the program. Let them know what the program is like and who they're going to follow up with. And then we reach out to the referent and ask the referent to call the client. So just for that continuity of care and to make it easier for our clients. But outside of those few things, I feel like the admissions process is Pretty straightforward and relatively the same for each person. You want to jump to the next one for me, Kayla? Thank you. I feel like I've touched on this. Maybe we can jump to the next one. Is that all right, Kayla? Perfect. Okay. So communication with making referrals and with our referrants is very, very important. I feel like this is a big part of the job with admissions and also with our business development team. And this is something that we take a lot of pride in. It's the treatment industry can be very, very fast paced and usually people working in business development and admissions are juggling quite a bit, so the communication piece can fall off at times. And so, um, we've seen it where we have had a lower level of care, like an IOP, refer us a client that needs to be in residential. What we do in that process is when that client is done with residential, we're going to do everything in our power to get that client back down to the IOP that they were at. And same thing with a residential program. If a residential program is referring a client to us that is a good fit and may not be a good fit for their program, we're going to communicate with them and let them know, hey, we've made contact with the client. Hey, the client has scheduled their intake at this time, and hey, the client has made it in. Oftentimes that treatment center might want to stay in contact with that client. If that's the case, we'll ask the client if they're comfortable signing a release of information for that treatment center so they can stay in contact with that client. It's really important. If I refer a client to another program, I want to make sure that that client made it. Sometimes things don't work out, and in those situations, if the client is unable to start treatment with us, we want to make sure that we send that client back to whoever referred the client to us, so they can make an appropriate referral themselves. So communication in this area is so important. It's something that we pride ourselves on, and we're always striving to have really good communication with our referring partners. So next slide, Kayla.
All right.
Question?
Thanks, Matt. That was great. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, you can use your GoToWebinar control panel to ask them, and we'll make sure that Matt gets them answered. But was there anything else, Matt, that you wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, I'm sure I'll think of like 14 things as soon as we're done, but for right now, I can't think of anything.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any questions. So there is our admissions phone number. It's 24/7. Our admissions counselors are answering that line. So feel free to give that out to anyone who might need help. And then our website is wasatchcresttreatment.com to learn more. Thank you, everyone, and look out for links to register for our July webinars in your email. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.